Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so if you close your eyes right now and picture an angel, chances are you're imagining a human figure, right? Maybe they have big white wings, maybe they're playing a harp on a cloud, or perhaps you're even picturing one of those chubby little cherubs from a greeting card. But if we actually dig into the ancient texts, we're talking deep theological treatises, apocrypha, and canonical scriptures, the reality of these beings is vastly more awe-inspiring, complex, and, frankly, terrifying. Today, we are undertaking a massive, comprehensive deep dive into angelology. We're going to map out the invisible world and explore the incredibly strict taxonomy of the heavenly hosts. It's going to be a wild ride. Here is our roadmap for today's journey. First, we'll look at the nature of angels. 2, the heavenly hierarchies. 3, types and classifications. 4, named angels and their domains. And finally, number 5, we'll look into the shadows with the fallen and watchers.
Section 1. The nature of angels, created spirits. To kick things off, we really have to ask the most fundamental question. What exactly is an angel? Well, theologian Wayne Grudem provides a brilliantly structured definition for us. He says angels are created spiritual beings with moral judgment and high intelligence, but without physical bodies. And this is absolutely crucial to understand. Across the major theological traditions, angels are an entirely distinct order of creation. They aren't humans who have died and somehow earned their wings. Actually, scratch that whole pop culture idea entirely. They are immortal spirit beings created before the physical earth even existed, and they operate in a sphere that is entirely above humanity.
Now this brings us to a massive theological debate, and it centers around their agency. Basically, do angels have free will? In traditional Judaism, angels are frequently viewed strictly as extensions of God's will. Think of it like they have no independent choice. They're sort of programmed for unyielding obedience. However, Christian theology takes a different stance. Pointing to scriptures like Jude 6, it argues that angels absolutely possess moral agency. They have a will of their own. And the very fact that they have the capacity to exercise that free will, well, that's exactly what inherently allowed for the greatest cosmic tragedy of all, the ability to rebel.
Section 2. The heavenly hierarchies, organizing the cosmos.
So, we have myriads upon myriads of highly intelligent, powerful spirits. How do they actually operate? They don't just float around randomly out there. Ancient traditions organize the cosmos into incredibly structured ranks. What we have here is the traditional Christian hierarchy, based on the ancient works of Pseudo-Dionysius. He breaks the heavenly host into 9 distinct choirs, grouped neatly into 3 triads. At the very top, you have the counselors. That's the seraphim, cherubim, and thrones, and their role is to stand in perpetual adoration. Moving down, the middle triad, the governors, manage the cosmos and communicate divine illumination. And finally, the messengers, principalities, archangels, and angels, these are the ones who actually intervene in human affairs. It's literally an intricate, cosmic bureaucracy.
But the Jewish tradition offers an equally fascinating yet different structure. The ancient Book of Jubilees categorizes angels into 8 specific grades. And what's really remarkable here is the heavy integration of nature. They didn't just have angels of the presence. They had vast, sweeping orders of nature angels actively managing the physical elements. Every single gust of wind, every strike of lightning, the shifting of the seasons, all of it was believed to be directly administered by specific angelic ranks. In this view, the natural and the supernatural were just seamlessly woven together.
Section 3. Types and classifications, beyond the human form.
Okay, but what do these beings actually look like? If we strip away centuries of Renaissance paintings and look at the ancient texts, they describe angels in ways that completely defy our simple assumptions of, humans with bird wings. Take the seraphim and cherubim, for example. The seraphim, whose name literally translates to burning ones, are described as beings of intense, brilliant fire, possessing 6 wings, constantly surrounding the divine throne. Then you have the cherubim, who are these fierce, exalted gatekeepers placed right at the entrance of Eden with a flaming sword to guard the tree of life. And in other mystical texts, we see entities like the Ophanim described as massive multi-eye wheels within wheels. We're talking about bizarre, overwhelming, preternatural geometries here.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how strictly theologians attempted to parameterize these beings. Looking directly at the source texts, we see incredibly careful theological distinctions being made. Angels do not reproduce, they do not marry, and they do not die. They are utterly distinct from humanity. Yes, their intellect and emotions exist, but they operate entirely outside the biological constraints of human existence. They are a completely different kind of life.
Section 4. Named angels and domains, the chief messengers.
Okay, let's dive into this next part.
While there are literally millions of anonymous angels, a select few are actually named across canonical scripture, apocrypha, and mystical traditions, and they hold profound theological weight. First up is Michael. He is historically and theologically significant because he's essentially the supreme commander. In fact, he's the only angel explicitly granted the title of archangel in Scripture. He is the mighty warrior and guardian of Israel, famous for his cosmic battle against Satan. But fascinatingly, the Book of Enoch adds incredible depth to his profile, describing this ultimate warrior as merciful and slow to anger. He perfectly represents divine strength, balanced with deep compassion.
Then, we have Gabriel, whose name translates to God is great. If Michael is the sword, Gabriel is the voice. He is the primary messenger of profound divine revelation. His encounters, like the Annunciation, fundamentally shaped Christian doctrine as we know it. Interestingly enough, the Book of Enoch also assigns him a very specific administrative domain, stating that he is the ruler over paradise, and that he actually oversees both the serpents and the cherubim.
Raphael and Uriel round out the highest ranks in many of these traditions. Raphael is historically known as the bringer of healing and the fierce protector of the souls of men. And Uriel? Well, he's highly prominent in the Book of Enoch, acting as an unparalleled cosmic administrator. Uriel is literally the one placed over all the luminaries of heaven, the sun, the moon, and the stars. His job is to ensure the mechanical harmony of the entire universe. Talk about a massive responsibility.
We also absolutely have to mention Metatron, a figure of massive importance in deep Jewish mysticism and Kabbalistic lore. According to texts like 3 Enoch, Metatron wasn't actually created as an angel. No, he was the human prophet Enoch who was so righteous that God elevated him into the heavens, literally transforming his physical flesh into spiritual fire, making him one of the highest-ranking angels in the entire celestial court. It's a profound concept, bridging the gap between humanity and the divine.
Section 5. The Fallen and Watchers. The Kingdom of Darkness.
And this brings us to the darker thematic lore of the supernatural world. Because as you might guess, where there is a hierarchy of light, there is a mirror hierarchy of darkness. The book of Revelation speaks of the hosts of heaven numbering myriads of myriads and thousands of thousands. So when a fraction of this innumerable host rebels, it doesn't just create a few bad spirits. It initiates a cosmic, multidimensional war of an unimaginable scale between the armies of God and the forces of darkness.
One of the absolute most captivating accounts of this fall comes from the apocryphal Book of Enoch. It details the tragedy of the Watchers, or the Grigori. These were angels who willfully abandoned their heavenly posts. They descended to earth, cohabitated with human women, and actively corrupted humanity by teaching them forbidden arts, things like weaponry, cosmetics, and astrology. They weren't just passively rebelling, they were actively subverting the earthly realm.
And this brilliantly illustrates the grotesque evolution of these fallen beings. Take a figure like Abagor. Once a pure celestial being, the texts now classify him as a Grand Duke of Hell. He retains his ancient divine knowledge, knowing the deep secrets of war in the future, but he now uses that knowledge to command 60 legions of demons in the netherworld. The beautiful, orderly hierarchy of heaven is perverted into a dark mirror down in the abyss.
Because of the immense, terrifying power these beings were believed to hold, humans throughout history have obsessively tried to harness them. Practitioners of ceremonial magic developed incredibly intricate tools, like complex magical seals from the Goetia. By using sacred names and geometries, they attempted to categorize, summon, and actually bind these powerful spirits to do their bidding. It really showcases humanity's enduring, slightly reckless obsession with controlling invisible forces.
So we've mapped out the taxonomy, the choirs, the watchers, and the deep theological frameworks. But all of this leaves us with a truly profound question. Are these ancient hierarchies merely a human myth, born from our psychological need to organize the unknown? Or are they the actual blueprint of a vast invisible reality, a cosmic administration of light and dark, that is still operating just beyond our sight today? Let that thought linger for a bit, and as always, keep seeking the knowledge behind the text.